people walk in a little bit late, that too. This is a town hall meeting north of the river for District 2. I'll be having another one south of the river next week on the 26th, and that'll be at the 13th Avenue Dream Center, also at 7 p.m. So just to start us off, I'll tell you just a little bit about me, for those of you who don't know, and then I'm going to highlight some of the things that we have going on in the county, but really specifically tailored to District 2. And then after that, I will take any questions and concerns that you all have. And I have my aide, Joshua, in the back. And so he will be writing down notes about any issues that folks have, so that we can hopefully address those and get back with you and try to solve whatever the problem is. So just a little bit about me. I was elected in November of 2022, so I am a brand new commissioner, but I've really jumped in with both feet. It's been a really exciting experience thus far. Previous to my election, I was a child welfare attorney here in Manatee County, as well as in Sarasota for a little while. And so I did that work for about 7 years, really during the height of the opioid pandemic. And that has really shaped some of the things that I saw doing that work, really shaped my passion, really shaped my heart for the community, and you'll see in some of the projects that I'm championing that the, I guess, impact of that work, because I really saw kind of the worst that Manatee County had to offer, some of the things that people were really struggling with that people weren't necessarily talking about. So I was excited to bring some of those things to the forefront, and I've been very blessed thus far that other commissioners have taken on those issues and have been willing to help me out and support me. So one of the first things that I think all of you are probably seeing is the convention center. So we have made a huge investment into improving the convention center. I'm sure that you all have seen the hotel that's going in. We are making an improvement to the convention center to go along with that. It will be really significant. It will be the largest convention center on the southwest coast of Florida. So there's going to be nothing like it from St. Petersburg, down to Naples. So that is going to be a really great economic driver. It's going to be a huge boon for the Palmetto community. So that's a really, really exciting thing. We did approve funding for that, so a lot of that is tourist development tax. So that's a really exciting project, and I think that it'll bring a lot of jobs and excitement to the area. Another thing that's going on in Palmetto that I think is really exciting and has been a really long time coming is Washington Park. So Washington Park is located just off of 301, if you know where the racetrack is, just north of there and east off of 23rd. We are creating a community center there where the county has put in about $4 million of generational impact funds toward that community center. So that'll be a space for kids in the community to get together and meet, to have camps, to have various other things where the community can just get together and enjoy themselves. They've been asking for this gathering space for a long time. We've run into some delays getting the park done. It turned out there was some illegal dumping there that went on for quite a while. And so there has been an intensive cleanup effort that's been started in conjunction with DEP. So that's going on now. And then simultaneously, we're working with the community to design the community center as well as the playground and other various things about that park so it can be exactly what the community wants. This is something that the community's been asking for 20 years, and it really hasn't been delivered on, and so we're excited to really get it off the ground. We've also got some road improvements going on. I'm sure that you've seen on Ellington Gillette. 27th Street in Bradenton is also being significantly improved. That's a road that, if you're familiar, can't really be widened. It's pretty close in with lots of houses, but they're doing some great functional improvements. Hopefully it will improve some of the flooding and maybe add some room for multimodal trails and pedestrian traffic. And I'm sure that you all know that 44th Ave has been significantly, is growing, extending. A large portion of that is in District 2 as well. Another park that we have broken ground to improve is John Marble Park. So that's on State Road 70, just past the Walmart. It's on 70 and 37. And so we are building a double-sized gymnasium there. It'll have basketball courts. It will have, those can also be converted into volleyball courts, pickleball courts. It'll have a state-of-the-art fitness center. It will also have, it'll have an area for kids to get together. We're gonna be doing camps there. We're improving the pool deck out there, which is really exciting. And we're also adding a splash pad. For me personally, that's what I am most excited about for that project. I have 2 little kids, and so I think they'll really enjoy that. So that has begun, and we anticipate finishing that park in 2024, so about a year and a half. We are also working on East Bradenton Park. The pool needs replacing there, so we are working on a replacement of that pool. We have also improved the fields there, added some bleachers so that some of the recreational leagues can really enjoy that space to its fullest. We have also installed a food forest there, which is really, really cool if you go and walk around and enjoy that. It's all kinds of native fruit trees, and they're available for anyone to just enjoy and pick from. So it's just a great community resource. As I stated kind of at the outset, my passion is for helping kids and people who are underserved. Working in the child welfare system, I saw a lot of families that were struggling with homelessness or being near homelessness. And so I was really excited to try to tackle this problem head on. And I've gotten a lot of support from my fellow commissioners, and we've really been able to jump forward really quickly just in my first 6 months as a commissioner. So we do now have, for the first time in Manatee County, we have a homeless policy coordinator. She was actually hired prior to my election, but we also have a homeless work group where basically we're getting together all of the nonprofits in the area and all of the policymakers in the area, staff from the county, staff from the cities, to all see what is the problem, how are we dealing with the problems that exist, and what are the needs. So I also identified that I need some significant additional shelter space. So we are right now working on a family shelter in District 2. So that's proposed to be in the Pride Park area. It's currently a sheriff's substation. It's on 57th Ave. And that will, when it's complete, hopefully house about 70 families at a time. And so it also has significant administrative space in the front, so we'll be able to offer these families some wraparound services, such as substance abuse treatment, mental health treatment. We'll have a temp agency there in the front so that these people can basically improve their lives and hopefully get out of that shelter situation as quickly as possible. We're also exploring a potential second shelter, possibly in North County, up near the port. That is really still in nascent stages, but I'm hopeful that we'll really be able to make a dent in this issue and provide people with a safe place to go so that we don't have people out on our streets and sidewalks, and that they can be somewhere where they can be comfortable, get the treatment that they need, and improve their lives. And so once we're able to have that shelter space in place, I think that our local sheriffs and police can do more when it comes to enforcing some of our ordinances when it comes to homelessness. So that one is very, very exciting and is really moving along quickly. Animal services is another area where we're working really hard. So the Bishop Shelter was, as you all know, gifted to the county, and we are working on moving the dogs that are currently, or the cats and dogs that are currently at the Palmetto shelter, out of that shelter and moving them to Bishop. The county has committed $8 million toward improving that shelter and adding the additional space so that all the dogs can be housed at Bishop. I will say that that's going to be a process that takes a couple of years. My understanding from people who work there, from people who volunteer there, my understanding is that the dogs and the cats that are there need help more quickly than we can give it with the new shelter. So we are exploring some creative options where hopefully we can get all of the pets moved down to Bishop in a more timely fashion, and hopefully for a cheaper price point. So we're looking at all solutions, and we're hopeful that we'll be able to get this done for about half the price of what we initially thought for designing a full shelter, and get these cats and dogs down to somewhere where they're safe and comfortable within a matter of months versus years. So that one is also very exciting. You may have heard also that we have some funding that's become available from the state of Florida for opioids. So we're part of a pilot project called the Core Recovery Program. There are just a few counties that have been chosen for this, and basically the state is giving Manatee County some significant resources, basically to beef up our response to the opioid crisis. So when someone overdoses, there will be multiple follow-ups with that person to assist them, to offer them medication-assisted treatment, and to try to get them into treatment. There will be a peer support person, someone who's been there, who is in recovery, who can try to help them to make that decision and better their lives. So that one is really exciting. We also, the county has received some significant funding from some opioid litigation. As you all know, our county was deeply affected by the opioid crisis. I think we all know someone who has struggled with that issue. So it is really a blessing that we've received that funding. It's been a little late in coming, but we're glad it's here now. We're hopeful that we'll be able to leverage some of that funding to hopefully bring in a new option for treatment in Manatee County, as well as fund some of the local nonprofits that are already doing really good work. Another really exciting thing on the opioid front and the substance abuse front in general is that we are, as a county, fully funding drug court for the first time. So that is really exciting. That program has been around in Manatee County for over 20 years, and it has never been fully funded by the county, and it has been an extremely successful program that has improved a lot of lives. It has saved a lot of taxpayer money because it's keeping people out of jail. It's helping people get back on their feet and kind of become success stories versus just going to jail and keeping that drug problem. So that one is also very exciting. We are here in the Palmetto Branch Library. I am the liaison for the Library Advisory Committee, and in District 2, there is actually only one library in the entire district. And I think that we are very underserved when it comes to libraries. And I'm interested in getting books and knowledge to the kids that need it as quickly, efficiently, and economically as possible. And so I have proposed that we bring back the bookmobile in Manatee County. So rather than spending $15, $20 million to build a library and all of that time that it'll take, we're able to get a bookmobile on the road within months, spend maybe $500,000, and we can have a set schedule where we can meet the kids where they are, provide a Wi-Fi hub, provide the books that the kids want and need, and basically provide for underserved kids all over Manatee County, and bring them the books where they need it, regardless of whether they have someone who's able or willing to take them to the library. For affordable housing, there are several things that we're working on. We've recently approved about 600 units of affordable housing down in the Oneiko area, as well as another project that has over 100 units. So those are very exciting, all in District 2. We are also looking at a community land trust. That is still in the planning stages, but basically that is a program where a county will take a piece of land, the county owns the land, and then people can buy a home off of that land, and all they have to pay for is the home itself. They're not paying for the value of the land as well. So that's an option to get people into home ownership for a much cheaper price point, which is a really great thing, because as we all know, housing in Manatee County is very, very expensive, thus part of the problem with homelessness. Going back to parks a little bit, at Bennett Park, which is right at State Road 64 and 75, we have an ADA accommodated playground, which is being actually gifted to us from Bradenton Kiwanis. So that is extremely exciting, and that will be going in shortly. So we have parks that are improving all over District 2, and it's a really, really great thing. And speaking of parks or potential parks, if you all are familiar with the Nixon Grove, that is closing this summer, and it's slated to be sold. However, they have come to our environmental lands board and basically proposed that the county purchase that land as an environmental land to become a park or preserve. A park or preserve in that area of Bradenton would be absolutely welcome, and our natural resources staff say that it could actually make a really great impact on water quality in the area. So I think that's really exciting. I will definitely be fighting to turn that land into a preserve or environmental land. So that's another exciting project that we have in the works. And the last thing, which is a little bit of a passion project for me, is community gardens. So all over Manatee County, the county owns small parcels, half an acre, that we don't necessarily have a use for or are not utilizing at this time. And so we have the opportunity to take some of those small parcels and, for a really small county investment, put in the infrastructure to turn those into community gardens where basically people in the neighborhood can come, plant, enjoy the land, be with their family, learn a little bit about what it takes to grow your own food. And for a lot of areas in District 2, which are food deserts, it gives us the opportunity to stand in the gap a little bit and give people that fresh local food that they need and deserve. So we've got the first one that will actually be going up in Elwood Park. That is slated to begin in August, so the building of that will begin. And then hopefully close to wintertime, they'll actually be able to, people will be able to plant and plot in that garden. So that's really exciting. I have a couple of other potential locations in District 2. There's one in Palmetto, Sylvan Oaks. And I'm really just looking for passionate community members who will step in and say that they want to be a part of it. Because I'm not going to spend community resources to put this together unless we have the people who want to be part of it and who want to take care of it. So if anybody is interested in community gardens, has a passion for these things, please let me know. I'd love to work with you on it. We've got this great pilot in Elwood Park. I think once people see how great that is going to be, that a lot more people will get excited and want to have one of these in their community as well. So those are the biggest issues that I've been working on that I wanted to touch on. And now I'm happy to take questions, but I'm trying to think of how to do that in the most orderly way possible. So let me see if you know what, I'll just kind of, people can raise their hands and I can just walk around if that works. Or actually, Tammy, do we have a second microphone?
I was just going to check, and that way I could walk it around.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Okay. I can go ahead and start taking a couple of questions, and then if we can't hear people, I can kind of relay what I believe is the gist of the question. I'll start with Ms. Griffin in the back, because I believe that she was the first one to raise her hand.
I was, thank you. That garden idea sounds good. It sounds like what I shared with Ms. Shirley. So I wanted to find out how we can get involved, because I would love to get me and my babies going.
I love
Okay.
it.
All right, so I have a question in regards to, because I'm working with a lot of the youth in the community, and I noticed that there's not anything for our children to do, especially over the course of the summer. So when we look at a lot of the facilities that are sitting idle or overcharging, if they are receiving any grants monies or monies from CRA boards or whatever the case may be, how do we find or how do we set up a facility in our community where it is needed for our children so that we can keep our children in a positive, productive environment off of the street, okay? Because when we look at the building, I know Palmetto Youth Center was used before, years ago for that, but now it's not used in that same capacity. So I'm just trying to figure out with what is going on, how do we put something in place for our children that's going to bring about something greater for our community, because it doesn't only affect the children, it does affect those parents of the children as well.
So when it comes to community gardens, I'm really glad to hear that you're interested, and anybody else that you think might be willing to work with you on this and want to get involved, please just have them contact me or get a little group together,
Yes,
and we can go from there and actually have a couple meetings specifically on the community garden.
Already done.
And then as for a place for our kids to go, I agree with you. I mean, it's extremely important, and there isn't always somewhere for kids to go. We do have some camps at the county level through the summer, which I think are they're great. But you know, there's not space for every child who wants or needs to be there. But I will say that with something like the community center that we're building up at Washington Park, that gives the opportunity for a local church or a community group to take that center over the summer and say, we're going to host a camp. And I think that that's a really good thing, and I think we're very hopeful that when we have these community centers, that's part of what will occur there. That you know, if we create the space for people to meet, for people to enjoy, you know, the space will be for the community, and will be, you know, it will be free. It's just a matter of people getting organized and utilizing it to its full extent. When it comes to things like parks and pools, unfortunately, staffing is the really difficult issue. So, you look at the pool at Lincoln, for example, it doesn't have the hours really that people would like to see, because the staffing is such a difficulty. And it's an unfortunate thing because, for example, I'd love to go there with my 2 little girls, but a lot of times they're open from 12 to 4, you eat lunch, your little one takes a nap, and then by the time you wake up and try to get out there, it's closing. And so we have, a great resource that's being underutilized. So we really have to figure out the staffing piece, make sure that we're working on hiring people, kids for the summer. Another initiative that I've been actually working on that really hasn't been highlighted in any significant way is second chance hiring. So we've actually got one of our deputy administrators working with the Manatee County Jail, actually going out to the jail and providing flyers, providing resources of people who are just coming out of incarceration and saying, look, there's a place for you in Manatee County if you want a job, if you want to work. And we're serious about that at the county. And so the staffing, like I said, has really been a struggle, but I think that if people know that that Manatee County is a place that we want all types of people from the community to work, whether it's on our landscape crews, janitorial, whether it's in HR, whether, whatever it is, we do have a lot of great positions available for people, and the second chance hiring is definitely something that we're looking at and focusing on, and I've been fortunate enough to work with Tracy Washington a little bit on that so far, and we'll definitely continue to do so. And I saw you.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
I'll wait.
And I saw Miss Betty. Did you have anything you wanted to say?
Well, you hit it. I have 2 things to say. It's this right here. Like Shavonda was saying, our kids need. I could talk loud. It used to be okay. Like Shavonda was saying, our kids need somewhere to go. Okay. At the youth center, it's that we really pounding on. I worked there for 27 years. And like you say, our kids was off the street. You got to have someone who's running that center who know what our kids need. So we're in the process of Shavonna is getting rid of someone there and getting a leader there who can run this Palmetto Youth Center.
Come on, God.
Because, that's it. But another thing I need to tell you is this. I'm very upset you got on the pool. Now listen, we on daylight savings time. You understand?
Oh, yeah.
The pool closed at 4. Actually, the pool's supposed to close at 5. Because actually, that would be 4 o'clock if that's the way they want to close. And another thing, I don't like to see our people, all people, standing in line to get in that pool. And plus, your security guard need to be a people person. Not talking rough, because you talk rough to me, I'm going to go back at you. And I did. Because it's the way you're supposed to talk to people because you're out there. And one thing I did tell her, I said, now, I just left from DT Bray. I didn't see a security guard. She said, oh, yeah, it's one. I said, well, he's definitely one where you standing at. I told her that. And I know she was lying because I didn't see a security. What I do, I go test bases to see what is going on at the GT Bray. Then I come over to Lincoln Park. It is not going. Some parents don't get off until, like you say, 4 o'clock. Right. Their kids should have an hour or something to be in that pool. It's wrong. And another thing you got to check on too, Manda, is this right here. Human resources is not getting the people who really want to work there. You understand?
I do.
The color of your skin stop a lot of them from working. They really want to work. We got a lot of blacks, minority, and Hispanic can be lifeguards. But you got to have somebody up there who can pick them, like to be on the job. And like you say, I'm glad you're going for second chance, because there's a lot of them that know how to swim. But we as a community, we got to stand together and fight for what you want. You understand? You got to fight for what you want. Now, about the dogs
Yes, ma'am.
out there. What happened to the money? I was here when we first met. It was some money that the county had that's supposed to give to the Palmetto Kennel. What happened to that money? Now they gotta wait, what, you say 2 years or something?
So the money is actually intended to go toward creating a new shelter. So creating all the space for all of those dogs and cats down at the Bishop Center, which is now their intake and kind of vet clinic. So basically, they've determined that that's the best way for them to work animal services. They've had a lot of difficulty having it kind of bifurcated in 2 different locations across the county. They'd love to have it all in one place. And basically, the state of the Palmetto facility is such that they think that it's better to just kind of start over and utilize the one.
Now, at first, that
Bishop.
kennel was doing good years ago. And all of a sudden, I'm not saying you, because you just got on 6 months ago, the county forgot about Palmetto, like a lot of things you all forget about over across the river that you really got to straighten up. But you're in District 2. I'm gonna check to see if you're doing what you say you're supposed to do.
Yes, ma'am.
I am. I'm gonna do that. Because one thing about the opioid crisis, I'm gonna see we're gonna have some homeless shelters for those kids or whatever to get into. And plus, I hope you have the right characters in there who can run that shelter like it's supposed to. Because I do not like Bill Garvano place over there. I went in there and I got it on how they treat some of those guys and ladies who come in there just want something to eat.
Yeah.
So, y'all just check it out. All right, thank
Well,
you.
we're working on it. And
Okay,
hopefully
thank you.
We'll have that started, fall of this year.
All right,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you.
Yes, what I will say, I won't steal everything you have, but, I will say, just sticking with the pool situation, now I've seen that you guys have, the county have extended hours, but the problem is now, I had kids go there today, and it's closed, and they don't know when it's gonna open back up.
Right.
So I'm just speaking it out. And prior to that, I just think it needs to be a better system. It's no perfect system, but it could be much a better system. When I say that is that the kids that come in for the first session are more likely to stay there, and then the kids come in at 2 o'clock for the second session. If the kids stay in the first session and it's packed and they can't get in, the second session is not allowed in there until people start coming out.
Okay.
And it's not fair to the people, that parents that bring their kids out for the second session, and the first session they don't swim, they did everything, they did their session, and they get to stay in.
So, can I just ask you a question?
Yes.
So are they allowing those kids from the first session to remain in the pool?
Correct.
And continue going?
Well,
So
they get a
that-
30-minute break, or they'll wait.
Okay,
They get a 30-minute break, just do from 1:30, then the second session starts at 2 o'clock, so they'll wait. And then, if they don't come out, and if that maximum capacity, or whatever the case may be, how many it is, they're only gonna allow the ones in to reach maximum capacity at 2 o'clock to come in.
Five
And
go
now
in.
you gotta still along the line, versus, just my thought, if they was in the first section and you come out, people in the second section, get this priority and get back in line. I think that's just a fair system you can have. And the person that's sitting there for 4 hours in the pool, waiting around, and then parents and so forth have to bring their kids, and then they have to wait in that line
Right.
for people to come out. That's all I have right now.
so I will look into that, I will address it, and see what can be done differently. I will also say, for those of you who don't know, we do have free swimming in Manatee County this summer. The unfortunate thing is, with the staffing issues, our pools are not necessarily as available as they could and should be for people to actually utilize and enjoy the free swimming.
Now, let me just, one more other thing on that. Since they're closing, they don't have a timeline to what the repairs they're having in those restrooms. And it says freeze to August. Now they don't know it can run to July, maybe it run to August. I do not know, that you don't know, because it says that they do not know when they're gonna reopen.
Right.
What are we gonna do the rest of the year to remain to help those kids that had the opportunity for free, and you're closed now for 1 or 2 months, they don't have the opportunity to go out there and enjoy it for the summer. Are you gonna be able to extend those hours to where I say, months, let's say September, October, November, January, because they didn't have the opportunity for this summer since it's closed right now?
So I'm definitely willing to look at that, see how much of a revenue generator it really is for the county. I mean, if it's not something that is generating large amounts of revenue and actually, assisting us in running the pools effectively, then I would definitely be willing to look at extending that, because I know that it has kind of been a burden on people that these pools haven't actually been open, and kind of the free swim that's been promised has been difficult to kind of obtain. I see Keenan there in the back, Mr. Wooten in the red.
I got, like 2 observations here. We're on District 2 here. And I was nowhere in North of the River today. But I went to East Bradenton Park today, and it wasn't even open, so I don't, and maybe you can check on that. But I would just come to Palmetto Park, Lincoln Park here, and swim there, but maybe you can check on East Bradenton, because I saw something online that said, oh, we're open now, and then I went there, and then maybe I missed the date, I don't know the time. Another thing, I'm gonna keep beating this drum, and I did it at the 13th Avenue Town Hall. District 2 is very unique. We have, before we drew the lines, you used to be representative or over or about 4 CRAs. You had downtown, you had the city of Palmetto, and then you had the central CRA in the city of Bradenton, then you had 14th Street in the city of Bradenton. Now I think you only have 3, because I think KBO is over downtown now.
I believe 14th as well.
14th, yeah, and 14th, I think. So, like I said, we gotta do a little better job of kind of monitoring those funds. I'm still not happy with just because the county gives that money to these municipalities, and we know what they're for. We know what they're supposed to go for. So I'm always gonna beat that drum, because there's a lot of projects, there's a lot of things in District 2 that could be worked on, it could be things that could be done about that. Also, he talked about that park, that new community center, but was it a needs assessment on, just the existing community center? Because we know we got
we have
Palmetto Youth Center going.
The library will be closing in about 20 minutes.
Okay,
so if you have anything you need to check out, or if you'd like to create a new account, please come to the front desk now to do that.
So then
The
what's
public
gonna happen to
computers
the
will
Palmetto
automatically
Youth?
shut
Those
down
kids, they're all
10 minutes
gonna
before
run
we
down
close
there
at
to Washington.
7:50.
Our
We'll close
kids
promptly
like
at 8
new,
o'clock and
those
reopen tomorrow
parents,
morning
they
at
love
9.
new.
Thank you.
So just kind of think about that as we open up a new one, and make sure that those services are unique or can serve the community and not be taken away from the Palmetto Youth Center as well. I know in the Bradenton side of District 2, we got 13th Avenue Dream Center, but then right there is the Girls Club. That's a totally different little service there just for girls. So just kind of think of it, that doesn't destroy 13th Avenue and what they got going on. So just kind of think about that in Palmetto District 2 as well. I use all of them. I take my nephew, I take him to all of them in District 2. So I use all of them. But I don't want to be long, but thanks for being here.
Thank you, Keenan, I appreciate it. And I will say I agree with you. I don't think that the Washington Park Community Center will be a threat to Palmetto Youth Center. As for size, it's not gonna be giant. I think it's gonna be built to the funding that we have available. So I think we're anticipating about 3,000 square feet, so not a huge footprint, but hopefully something that can serve the community. I'd really like to see, they've talked about adult education classes, computer literacy, things like that. I know that there are some older residents in the community that would like to see that, as well as potentially a farmer's market there a couple times a month, which I think would be great. Yes, ma'am, there in the gray.
Yes, homeless. The homeless shelter, did you not state that was gonna be in North River?
So we are looking, the homeless shelter that we, that is further along, is anticipated to be in the Pride Park area on 57.
Okay,
So that's a women's and children's shelter. It's a building that already exists. It's currently a sheriff's substation. It was previously a work release, building. And so a lot of that infrastructure is already built, so that'll be able to be put into place pretty quickly, because they really just need to kind of retrofit what they already have, because it's a great, really solid building.
in the, affordable housing and the community trust.
Yes.
Because, as we know, housing is pretty ridiculous in this area, and looking at the living wages compared to what, monthly rents are and home ownership is, how soon, because for the community, 6 months, in my opinion, for someone homeless is like a lifetime of being homeless. So how soon, we always hear them talking about implementing, and implementation can be extremely a year.
Right.
And right now, I really think a year is like too far out, when we already know there are CRA funds available for housing. And how soon are you expecting these projects to go?
Sure. So, for some of the affordable housing projects that have been approved in the Onico area, those have already, one has already broken ground about 2 months ago. But I mean, obviously the building all takes time. The homeless shelter, the sheriff's office will be vacating that building in October. And then we hope to immediately start retrofitting that and turning it into the shelter. I'm also hopeful that this shelter will be a little bit different than what we've seen in Manatee County. Currently, you have the Salvation Army shelter where someone can stay for, I believe it's 10 days, and then they start getting charged nightly to stay there. And they don't really have resources to provide for a lot of the folks who are staying there. What we're hoping to do is allow people to stay there for a more significant amount of time, so that they can save money, get their feet under them, and get those wraparound services, so that they can actually improve their situation while they're there.
Is there any, because there's so many shelters, but that still does not negate the homelessness? Because I stay in the shelter, I may stay in the shelter 6 months, but I still cannot afford to pay the new rental. We need low-income housing, a housing community. I would suggest a housing community of 600 versus a shelter that people could reside in. At least that'd be 600 families that you could move off the streets, compared to putting them in a shelter situation, which is only a temporary fix for homelessness, when we have a huge homelessness epidemic in this county.
And I agree with you, and so ultimately this has to be a multi-pronged approach. But we can't do it all at once. And creating the more affordable housing, it's gonna take time. So we're trying to kind of stand in the gap until, as we build up that affordable housing stock, as we attract more affordable housing into Manatee County. We've got a new state law that actually provides significant incentives for builders who want to create affordable housing. And so we're hopeful that as we work on these density bonuses, as we work on there's tax relief for people who want to build affordable housing. So as we build up that affordable housing stock, at the same time, we've got that shelter available, and so that people have that transitionary period. But unfortunately, there's no perfect solution, because it's a problem that's been brewing for a long time and wasn't necessarily addressed in the way it should have been. I will say that on the kind of permanent supportive housing front, the county is making a significant investment in a program called Tunnels to Towers. It is a program that will house 110 homeless veterans in Manatee County. And that's a program where those veterans will be able to remain indefinitely. And they'll be provided any services that they need for substance abuse, for mental health, for PTSD. And so that project is going to be an absolute, just a real asset to the community, and it's gonna be a huge help to any homeless veterans that we have.
They currently already have the, VA homeless, housing for vets. But, like I said, my main concern is I know so many people are displaced. And what I was saying, if we got a building, you can subdivide that building where you can actually make it maybe a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom. I mean, I worked in construction, so you know, you already have the building. You can, it's so much that can be done with that area in order to actually make it something permanent and not temporary. So if they go into the shelter, what is gonna be the expectancy state for them to be in the shelter?
My anticipation that we'll be looking at for these shelter stays is 90 to 120 days. And so it's not a permanent solution. The county does actually have a few options for people who are ready to leave those shelters and but are not yet ready to move into a typical market rate house. The county actually owns a few homes locally, and we are looking at the possibility of working with the nonprofit who runs the shelter to get families into those homes as they transition. And so that would be a more typical year-long lease at a reduced rate. But it's not a big solution because we don't have a lot of those available. If we were to try to turn that space into an apartment building, it would become extremely, extremely, extremely expensive, and you'd only be able to hold about 10 to 12 units.
Well, let's take some money from the dog shelter and give it to the human shelter.